In today's episode, I'm joined by Kevin Brittain. He is the founder of Runpreneur, and he has set himself a global challenge. He is literally running around the world. And in this episode, I talk about how he freed up the time in his life to be able to do this, to be able to run every single day, and with a goal of raising over £1 million for charity. This is something that I am absolutely proud to be able to support. And adding to that, Kevin was actually my ex-business partner from Systems and Outsourcing. We're bound to have a lot to talk about, and it's my pleasure to introduce Kevin to you today on this episode. Hi, Kevin. Thank you very much indeed for coming along and having a chat with me today. I'm quite excited about this talk, for this interview, for a number of reasons. Well, I want to really hear about what you've been up to recently, because it sounds utterly amazing, and I've been blown away by following you on social media and what you're achieving and the reasons you're doing it. So I'm going to dive into that shortly, and I think that anyone listening now will be totally blown away by what your challenge you set for yourself over the coming years. But as I said, I'll come to that in a second. I just wanted to first really give you opportunity to introduce yourself, and then a little bit of backstory, because we actually have a history and we've known each other for a number of years now. And I wanted to talk a little bit about where we met and where you were at then, and how you've really created this new lifestyle for yourself, and get into that. And then we'll come into the amazing work you're doing for charity at the moment. So please introduce yourself, say hi, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, thanks for having me, Steve. I'm Kevin Brittain. I used to be Steve's business partner in Systems Outsourcing. That's how we know each other. I come from a property background, so I'm a landlord by trade, and I'm now a running philanthropist. Is probably the right term for what I do. So yes, but it's a bit of a blast from the past. This back on a Zoom call, Steve.
Yeah, we've spent many hours on Zoom calls over the years. So. So let's talk about when we first met. So when I first met you, actually you were on the first ever beta course that I ever ran for Systems and Outsourcing. You were one of those brave people that, for some reason, put your trust in me and jumped on a very, very dodgy sort of course with me, my webcam, and my ideas, and not a lot else to go along with it. But something seemed to work. And do you want to just explain quickly so what happened with that, and then how maybe we end up working together?
Yeah, well, I mean, we met, I can't remember which year it was now, it's several years back now. And I'm still a landlord, but I was a bigger landlord back then. I had 96 houses at the time and around 250 tenants. And I built this up from kind of scratch, had a team of people in place, and for all of the glamour that the property industry kind of had, it was anything but glamorous. It was getting involved in maintenance, getting involved with tenant management. I was doing 60, 80-hour weeks every week. It was taking over my life. I hated every minute of it. And no matter how much money you earn, when you earn it, it's never enough as a sacrifice for your time. So I was obviously aware of systemization. There's a lot of people that kind of talked about systemization and the benefits of it, but nobody kind of ever gave you a step-by-step plan on how you did it. So I tried all the different software and apps you can possibly imagine to try and do it myself. I'd had invariable, sometimes a little bit of success, but it would never be sustainable. So it was when I came across you, and I don't know how I came across you, to be honest. I think it was I randomly saw a video of you on Facebook, and you were talking through Asana. And the reason I looked at it is because I'd actually just quit using Asana because I was using it, and I just obviously had it structured in a really backward way, and I'd given up hope with it. So I was looking at other options, and I thought, well, I'll just look at this video because it was about Asana. And then you talked through quite eloquently the systems for outsourcing process. And that's where I thought, right, I need to, this guy really knows what he's talking about. I need to find out how this is working. And if he can run his property portfolio from another country, then surely I can do it when most of my properties are only 45 minutes away. So I reached out, and then we obviously went through the first iteration of the Systems for Outsourcing program. And I think you say that it was a bit of a back of a fag packet set up at the time, but the process was still very slick. The process was there. Perhaps the delivery wasn't quite there, but the principles behind it were very solid. And yeah, roll on. I managed to systemize my property business from working with yourself, so that, you know, I was doing 60, 80-hour weeks. I got it down to, you know, I think I was doing about an hour a week at one point, where it was, I got it systemized that much, and it really was life-changing. So I still stand here and thank you for that.
Well, I always love hearing that story. You know, it almost brings tears to my eyes, because it was such an incredible life-changing experience for you, as you said. But for me, it was one of the reasons, you are one of the reasons why I decided to go all in on this, and make this my mission in life, to actually help as many small business owners as possible do this, because I saw what a difference it made to you and, you know, some of the other people on that first beta. So no, I really thank you. And I love the fact we've got this opportunity now to actually just come back and reflect 5 years later, because just to fill in a couple of other gaps, like Kevin then approached me after doing this and freeing himself from his business, and asked, could he get involved? And we worked together tirelessly for a couple of years of building the company up. And I'm very grateful for all the help you gave in doing that. And then we decided to go our separate ways. And I think that brings us seamlessly onto what I really want, the real subject of this interview, and that is, what are you doing now, Kevin? Like, what is this mission that we talked about before? And tell us about that, because it is just mind blowing.
Yeah, well, I mean, if this goes back to kind of lockdown number one, I mean, we've had so many different lockdowns now. It's you lose track of them. But yeah, I mean, I've always been an avid runner, a keen runner, as is yourself. And I was always raising money for children's charities. That was kind of the thing that I wanted to do. Since having children, obviously you've got a child, and it's one of those, you see how vulnerable they are, and you realize how, you know, some children just are not as fortunate as our children in the environment they live in. I also had growing up, I had a friend who passed away with myeloma at the age of 11, and seeing not necessarily his, you know, his the process of when he got the illness to when he passed away, the impact it had on everybody around him and his families. And he was incredibly brave, and he just took it in his stride, and he was smiling and happy to the day he passed away. And I always thought at that point, I need to try and find a way to support the wonderful charities that support the families and the children who go through situations like that, which is why I thought, how would I fundraise? And I used running, because it was something that most people kind of fundraise for. It's quite an easy way to fundraise, because it's putting yourself through some incredibly hard challenges. But what you then find is, when you do your first half marathon, it's a big achievement. You get people donate to you. When you do your first marathon, even more, you get lots of people donate. When you do your first ultras aren't quite as mainstream as a marathon, but you still get people who support you. But when you've done that, and then you go, right, I'm now going to do this race, people aren't quite as generous. I think you can do that. I'm not going to donate to you. So you almost have to go bigger and more crazier. And beginning of lockdown one, all of the races that I'd planned, we normally plan a few races per year that I'm going to try and do each year. And it was, all of them been cancelled. So I thought, right, what am I going to do? I'm going to run. At the same time, one of my business mentors was trying to get me to create content every day for a year. I hate content. I hate social media. You have to do a little bit of it, unfortunately, but it's not me at all. So I thought, right, I'll do it, but I'll do it where I'm a bit more comfortable. And I'm always, my most comfortable place is my running place. I'm alone with my thoughts. I'm in nature. I thought, if I'm going to do some content, I can do it here, and I can kill two birds with one stone. And then again, random thread, I came across a Facebook in a running community group. There was an old age pensioner, and it just really resonated with me, because he said he'd managed to work out that throughout his running career, he'd run the distance to circumnavigate the world twice. And I thought, right, well, I'm going to be vlogging every day and running. I'm going to set a crazy challenge. I'm going to try and run on consecutive days whilst vlogging the distance of one lap around the world. I thought that would be the ultimate ultra marathon. And I thought, if I can't get some fundraising support for doing something as crazy as that, then I don't know. So that's how it was born. My vlog was about entrepreneurship and running. So the brand Runpreneur was formed. We created a charity out of it as well. And the idea is that I wanted this to be huge. I'm going to try to raise £1 million, which is a huge amount of money. And I'm not going to donate it all to one charity. I wanted to be able to cover the whole spectrum of issues affecting children on a global scale. So I chose initially 6 charities to support that I had some kind of connection with through my life, and I know that the good they do. And the charities were Great Ormond Street Hospital, Children with Cancer UK, BBC Children in Need, Operation Orphan, Internet Watch Foundation, and Fab Kids. And I have a different connection with each of them, and I know the works they do. And more recently, I've added long COVID kids to it because my eldest child has had COVID. Unfortunately, he's been suffering with long COVID since September. So I added that to the mix. And the idea is all the money that I raise would be equally dispersed among those 7 charities. And the aim would be to say, you know what, we've saved children's lives, and I know by putting it to those 7 charities where we cover the whole spectrum of issues affecting children, we would make that difference. So I'm now 626 days in, some 5,300 kilometers along the way. I'm averaging 8.5 kilometers a day. I've run in every possible weather condition you can possibly imagine. In terms of to visualize how far I've run in that period of time, if we started in London in the UK, I'm about on the Chinese border. So it's I'm an 1/8 of the way around the world. My aim is to finish on my 50th birthday. I turn 40 in 2 weeks' time. So it's a 12.5-year challenge, basically, which is hopefully we will get to that amazing figure that the longer this goes, to raise £1 million and to say, you know what, we genuinely made a difference. I say we because I do have some of the team around in my businesses that help with the social media and help me, you know, publish what I'm doing, as I find it a very painful process with the social media side of things. So hopefully that explains.
And a loving, enduring wife to help you, support you as well, no doubt.
Yeah, the washing is vast. Honestly, it's brutal.
It's fantastic. I love that analogy of running from here to China. You know, even if it has taken a couple of months to do it, it's still bloody impressive. So yeah, absolutely, hats off to you. And the couple of things I really want to touch on as well, because you know, I've been keeping a track of what you've been up to over the past couple of years, and one cool thing you did was to get a Guinness Book of Records, or get in the Guinness Book of Records, I should say. So tell us about that, because I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, so we thought long and hard about how we're going to get some publicity and some PR, and we thought, right, let's try and break some Guinness World Records as part of this challenge, because everyone loves a Guinness World Record. So it all started where I thought, right, I'll run London Marathon. I'll run it in fancy dress. So I'll try and get a fancy dress world record. And I was looking through all of the different costumes on the Guinness World Records website, and I was trying to find one that, you know what, the time was beatable, but the costume wasn't too brutal. So I thought, ninja, that would be perfect. And I thought it kind of linked with my Oriental genes. So I thought, right, we'll go with ninja. And then the small print came through, and it was, I mean, the costume's brutal. I had to wear barefoot style split toe barefoot style footwear. So when I was training for this, I've done the whole of these 626 days so far barefoot style as well. So it's which not actually barefoot, but in Vibrams. So they're like toe gloves, basically foot gloves, which it is a completely different sport. If you've not run barefoot style before, you know, the stress and duress that goes through your calf muscles and Achilles in particular, because without going into too much detail, a typical running trainer has maybe 2 to 3 centimeters of heel support, where barefoot style you get 0. So your Achilles and calf muscle are stretching extra 2 to 3 centimeters every stride. And it doesn't sound a lot, but you do endurance activities like that. I had 6 calf tears when I was making a year-long transition to being a barefoot runner. So then we came to London Marathon. I managed to break the Guinness World Record for the fastest male marathon runner dressed as a ninja. I had to beat 4 hours and 14. I did it in 3 hours 55. And then a few months later, I thought I can't be the fastest male marathon runner dressed as a ninja without being the fastest half marathon male runner dressed as a ninja. So I broke that record as well. It was I had to beat 1 hour 55 and I ran it in 1 hour 39. So yeah, 2-time Guinness World Record holder for being the fastest running ninja. So there you go.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, you know, telling me that, or speaking about your problems about transitioning to barefoot running, because I did the same thing. I think when we met, actually, you hadn't started that. It was I'd only been doing it for a year or so, I think, when we actually met. But it was a painful, long experience. It was something like, you know, I read a couple of books on it and I started doing it, and it was like, I used to go running for maybe 10 kilometers. I wasn't a big runner back then. And I had to go back to start running like 1 kilometer and then stopping and walking, because otherwise you end up injured. And so, yeah, you know, hats off you for doing it and keeping at it as well. I still use low profile shoes, but I've actually don't really run in the barefoot so much anymore. Maybe because my distances have got longer, but it just becomes pretty painful when you get over 50K. But anyway, cool. Another thing I wanted to touch on, which again, I've seen this plastered all over social media. So your team, as you said before, with your social media are doing a good job, because I keep on getting popped up all about your Red Challenge. So tell us a bit about that and what that's all about and how people can get involved.
Yeah, so we then decided, like, another idea is try and get people involved. I thought, you know, affiliate marketing, if you get people that kind of support what we do and can kind of post on my behalf, it can make a difference. But what I realized from running 626 days straight is that the benefits to me have been vast. Predominantly mentally. I think we have an incredibly, you know, stressful life, most of us. I think all of us do. It's all relative to our situations. But I find that you need a release mechanism to relieve that stress. Otherwise, it builds up, it festers, and I think someone once said that pressure bursts pipes, and the pipe being used. So if you don't release that pressure on a regular basis, you can end up having a mental breakdown. I think that happens to a lot of people. Or some people try to use the wrong way of de-stressing, like maybe drinking or binge eating and things like that, which can have negative effects from a health perspective. So I thought, well, I wanted to share this story and this journey, because I'm not saying that everybody should go and run every single day, because RED stands for the acronym for run every day, and it's quite a common thread in running. But you get people that are very pro run every day, and you get people that are very negative run every day, because obviously if you push yourself too hard, you can get injured, and that's no good for anybody. So I wanted the RED challenge to be run or walk at least a mile every day, for either 30, 90 or 365 days, for people to positively impact their lives through exercise and daily movement being the key word. So if you want to run every day, great. But if you don't, just walk a mile, at least walk a mile, because that you still get the same mental benefits from walking as you do running. I know you don't perhaps get the same physical benefits from walking as you do running, but you would get them. And the idea was it's about helping people through these very difficult times. I know we're coming out the back end of the COVID lockdowns now, but the mental health tsunami that COVID has created, I think that was a really good thing to do. And I think we've got about 100 people that got involved with that. The success rate wasn't the highest. There's a lot of people that kind of gave way, but a lot of people made it to the 30-day milestone. We do have some hardened people that have gone past the 90s and they're going towards the kind of 6-monthly milestone and onwards. But the overwhelming feedback is that people were realizing how they benefited their mental health by daily movement, and that was the goal. So we keep doing one every few months to try and get more and more people involved, but just to get that message out there, because if you don't have a release mechanism, it catches up with you at some point.
Yeah, totally. I just agree with you 100%. You know, I've been running all my life, not all my life, most of my adult life, I should say, since my mid-20s. And I think the times that I don't, massively affects me. And, you know, whatever reason it kicks in, work, stress, whatever, and you can slip out of that habit. And whether your habit is running or walking or cycling or just, you know, going outdoors and just being with your kids or whatever it is, but actually having some time set aside, even if it's not every day, but like most days, and having that mental release is just so important. One of the things I do, I mean, this is really back to, I think when I started doing this, probably about 3 or 4 years ago now, about 3 years ago, I think it was, I started going skiing on a Friday afternoon, a Friday daytime. I live in Sweden, so I'm like 2.5 hours from the slopes. And so I made the decision that not every single week, because if I've got to balance childcare with my wife, and she works really, really hard in the beginning of the year, which is when the skiing is. And but whenever I could, I would get on a bus and I would go skiing, and I'd make the most of it. And I used to get some work done on the way there, get some work on the way back, but I'd have a day on the slopes. And that to me is just like the biggest release. I come back like energized and just like, it's just a dream come true for me. Growing up in Manchester, I mean, I was miles from the sea, miles from the mountains, you know, and I've always loved both those things. So now I live in Sweden, in Stockholm. I'm near to both. So I want to make the most of it. And I think that one of the key things that I carried on was when I stopped doing that skiing because the snow melts, it's like, well, I've now got my Fridays free. I've booked them out. So why bother restarting that? So I still do that even to this day. And it may be that I actually just get some stuff done, because it's like finishing stuff off and giving myself a really good, clean head for the weekend. Or I spend that time going running during the summer often and do like a big, I like big long runs. So I'll do 4, 5 hour, 6 hour run sometimes on a Friday. And I think that is one of the challenges. And the reason I bring this up is because people often use the excuse, I don't have time. And time is just a mindset. And I work harder on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. Sorry, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So that on Friday, I never book anything. It's not saying I never work on a Friday, but I never have to work on a Friday. And that gives me the option and the time to say, no, I'm going to take a few hours out and do something for me. And I think that that's an easy way for people, if they think, oh, I can't do it every day. Well, actually, it's just about booking a meeting with yourself, isn't it? It's about saying, this is important. And I'm going to block this time out every day, every other day, every Friday, like I do. And I'm not going to let anything touch that. And then that's how you can actually find that time. It's just about actually committing to it.
Yeah, and I think that's it's really, really important. I think it's what happiness is so important, and it's when people understand what makes them happy. I mean, I see you on social media, and you always seem as happy as they come when you're on the slopes, and so why would you ever not do that? And I think when people actually realize what happiness is to them, and it's a hard question to answer for a lot of people, sometimes it's very seldom is it linked to money or chasing the next shiny penny. It's actually the more intrinsic things in life, which is spending time with people, having time to do things with your loved ones, and I think it's so important you put that in. And I think it's amazing you've done that, because I know how hard you work, and I think if anybody deserves to have that time back, and you've got all the systems and processes in place to do it. So it was almost a mindset shift for you, wasn't it, to kind of actually not feel guilty? Because I think guilt is another thing. People think, but it's not. Guilt is self-created in many instances. I mean, you live to you work to live, not live to work. And I think that's really, really important. Yeah.
No, I think you've hit it on the head with me. I do, I have worked very hard. I still do work very hard. I never pretend that I don't, but I have a work-life balance now that makes me happy, doesn't stress me out. I love what I do for my work, but I used to really struggle with not working. And, even at the weekends, I always felt that I was like letting my business down. And even if that was actually at the cost of my family, and that's the real, like, horrible thing that you can get into that trap of not seeing almost the wood for the trees. It's like, what is the most important thing? I was running the business to have more time with my family in the future. But in doing that, I was actually end up but not being there as much as I could be and should be probably for my family when my son was very young. And yeah, like you say, it's a mindset shift. I think a lot of business owners struggle with that balance between feeling guilt for not spending time with the family and then guilt for not spending time with the business. And you've got to get that balance right. And I think that's one of the hardest things that we can learn as entrepreneurs. And I think that both yourself and I hope myself seems to have got that balance right now. And I know for both of us, it's not always been the case. So, yeah. Cool. Kevin, tell me about how people can get involved. How can we donate to this fantastic effort and charity that you're doing? And how can we find out more about it if we want to?
Well, the website is challenge.runpreneur.co. You can spell it there. It's not the easiest word.
Be in the show notes as well with links to everything.
No, brilliant. And it's .co, not .co.uk, just .co. I know it's a crazy URL, but all of the information is on there. We also wanted to make sure that anybody who's supporting us is sustainable, because the one thing I was very, very aware of is that, you know, COVID was affecting people's lives, but also people's livelihoods. And I always wanted to make sure that any form of fundraising I did was going to be sustainable for people. So we kind of came up with this campaign called Caffeine for Kevin. And the idea behind it was, if people could just afford to donate, you know, a price of a cup of coffee. Now, it could be a cheap cup of coffee for £1, or it could be an expensive cup of coffee for £5, but or anywhere in between. If they could just afford to donate that once a month, makes a huge difference, because my challenge is such a long challenge. The duration goes on for 12.5 years. So, you know, when you do the maths, you know, the £1 or the £2 or the £5 is a monumental difference to the challenge, but it's probably something a lot of people won't notice as well. I think it's 8,000 £1 donations would get me there, 4,000 £2 donations, you know, 2,000 £5 donations, and so on. So it makes the figure so much more achievable, and I think it's a nice way for people to donate. And the other thing that I really wanted to do was knowing that, you know, the people donating are going to be affecting all of the issues affecting children on a global scale, rather than a singular one. Because I used to donate to various children's charities, and I always said I'd love to just donate once and it gets dispersed equally among the charities I wanted to support, and that's what I wanted to do through the Run for No challenge. So yeah, thanks so much, Steve. I'll give you all the details, and if anybody wants to support me in that, it would be hugely appreciated. People can do singular donations as well, but the little small teeny tiny ones that people won't notice are the ones that make the biggest difference.
Yeah, fantastic. I will be contributing as well. I haven't so far, and I'll be the first to admit that, but I will. It's been on my to-do list, and you've now, obviously, speaking to you today is just giving me that kick that I need to actually get this done. So hopefully other people will follow my lead and join in supporting you on what is a really impressive, monumental challenge you set for yourself. And, you know, just like put this in perspective, I've tried to run every day before, and I'm a keen runner. I've run 100k runs before, 100-kilometer runs. Yeah, I've never been able to sustain running every day for more than a month. So to do it for 600 odd days or whatever on the trot and be, you know, only an eighth of the way through, I mean, that's just fantastic. So I really hold my hat off to you as a fellow runner, as a business owner, knowing that the challenges that both those things bring to doing something like this and trying to avoid injury and all the rest of it. So yeah, really hats off, mate. Brilliant work. And I'm really happy to support you doing this. And I hope getting this episode out will encourage other people to get involved, because you know, Kevin is totally, just to really emphasize, Kevin, I've known him for about 5 years now. From way before I met him, he's been donating to children's charities. As he said before, he's run every run he did. He would be massive campaigning. He supported Fab Kids for a long time, like all the runs you were doing and stuff. And so this is not just some marketing stunt. This is not something that Kevin is doing for any other reason than genuinely a desire to help kids, and he's held that for many years. So I just want to emphasize that, because it's so important that people know this is something that you are passionate about, and you will see this through. I'm no doubt about it. So congratulations, and it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks so much, Steve. Really appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin.
Pleasure. No, thanks for that, Steve. I think it's really good. Nice to catch up again as always. We should do it more often.
And I will. You know, we mentioned about going for a run sometime together and having a chat. And if you want to do a vlog, we can do a vlog as well. But yeah, I think that'd be great. And who knows when normality will return? But you know, when it does, I'll be back home, properly back into the summer now, because obviously we've got a new baby on the way. But when I do, it'd be really good to catch up properly. No, definitely. Just drop me a line, let me know, and yeah, I'd love to catch up with you again. I think it'd be crazy not to continue our relationship, because it's there's so many positive things from it, and I think it's lovely to reconnect. So thanks so much. Yeah, no, my pleasure. Cheers, Kevin. I've got to run, but really good to see you. All right, take care. Bye.